The issue I will be focusing on is equity and access to education. Students enter school with different backgrounds and skills, but middle-class white children tend to enter school with more skills than students of color. I worked this summer to try and close that gap with a program called Ready, Set, Read, done by Communities and Schools of Tacoma. Each Tuesday and Thursday morning, students came to the library of Franklin Elementary with their parents. The focus of the program was students before they enter kindergarten, so ages 3 and 4, but families were welcome to bring siblings of all ages as well. The youngest child in attendance was 15 months and the oldest was 10 years old. Parents stayed for the duration of the program. Each day consisted of story time, songs, yoga poses, and center fun. The students were able to work at various centers with us volunteers to help them gain skills for kindergarten. Students practiced using scissors to cut out different shapes, strung beads onto pipe cleaners, worked on puzzles, and read stories. Each activity was designed to help students get ready for kindergarten. As one of the volunteers, I participated in story time, sang the songs, and ran centers, as well as helping run herd on a few escape artists. During this time, I was able to establish a relationship with the students and parents. Even with large groups of siblings, there were usually as many adults in the room as children. This allowed us to ensure that all children were participating. I care about equity and access to education because I want all students to enter my classroom having experienced the same opportunities. The quality of early childhood education vastly differs based on the socioeconomic status of an area. The lack of high-quality early education centers in more diverse areas is a huge issue. Access to high-quality early childhood education has the potential to work to change the institutions that keep people in poverty. Children who start kindergarten with school-ready skills like letter recognition, being able to hold a pencil, or the manual dexterity to hold a set of scissors and cut, are more likely to succeed throughout early primary. Programs like Ready, Set, Read also empower families by making them a part of the learning process for their young children. Parents are provided with meaningful questions to ask when reading books with their children, and books are provided for students to take home and keep. Putting more books into the hands of children will only help them develop a love of reading. After 8 sessions spent with the kids, I cannot say for sure that we closed the equity gap or even made huge strides towards closing that gap. What we did during those hours was have fun. The kids were able to enjoy storybooks and related discussion. They were able to be creative. They sang songs, they played. They were children enjoying themselves in developmentally appropriate ways. One aspect of this program that was both an advantage and a disadvantage was having parents stay for the entire time. While it was wonderful having so many adults in the room and helped them see examples of comprehension questions during story time, it may have excluded some children from the event. Not every parent has the time to bring their small children and stay with them. Some kids came with their aunts and cousins, grandparents, or even with a teenage sister. Attendance wasn't mandatory and some kids missed some days. At most we had 15 kids, and on a small day we had about 6. Altogether, it was a program that helped kids develop and work on skills for school while also socializing. Additionally, the program ended with a free lunch for all the students. Throughout the 8 weeks I spent working with these children, I rediscovered how 4 is my favorite age, an age of discovery and wonder. I learned how difficult it is to hold a pair of scissors for the first or 100th time, and how I have to hold a pair in my hand to help correct them as it has become natural to me. I learned that even sticking stickers is a great exercise in dexterity. I learned the power of books and how when you give a small child a book for them to keep, they will sit down and read it then and there because books are exciting at that age. I learned that all kids want to learn and that play is learning. I learned that you can see tremendous growth in a short period of time. I found myself comparing these experiences to class readings. Having a program like this is justice, but it was not utilized by only the students it was designed to help. About half of the students in attendance had previously attended a preschool, ranging from Montessori to Head Start. Several of the students were already in elementary school, attending with younger siblings. The ability to access high-quality early childhood education is an equity issue. Every child deserves the chance to learn. Ready, Set, Read was a great program to work with, and I would love to work with them in the future. But to give myself a more rounded idea of the program, I also visited another program. One of my good friends spent her summer volunteering with a similar program, the Bureau of Fearless Ideas. This program was run out of Yesler Terrace in Seattle, and I stopped by with her after class one day. While both programs were aimed at helping students prepare for kindergarten, there were some major differences. The first was attendance. During their sessions, only 1 or 2 children showed up. The parents were not required to stay, leaving students to work with volunteers and lessening the connection with learning at home. Comparing these two programs made me appreciate working with Ready, Set, Read even more. Communities and Schools of Tacoma has a strong community presence, allowing them to recruit plenty of families to join us at the 5 locations this summer. Seeing and comparing these two programs left me with some questions. How do we ensure that early childhood education programs are accessible by those in the community who need them most? How can we, working with a community organization, gain the trust and support of a community, especially if we are not ourselves part of that community? How can we make access to early childhood education a priority for politicians? How can we convince people that funding these programs is the best solution? How can we work on increasing the quality of early childhood education to ensure that poor children of color are not simply left with poor curriculum and less learning? Why are there people who don't support access to high-quality early childhood education? How can we make education a priority in our country? How can I work with my school to ensure that my future students have access to quality programs like Ready, Set, Read? Thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any additional questions about my experience with Ready, Set, Read, or with any information about access to education at the early childhood education level.